I don't know if we still have it or not, but
Oh, yeah, it's
So I'll just take that.
yeah, that sounds good.
Well, I want the state to give me like a battery pack because my laptop lasts maybe an hour. Yeah.
Oh boy.
You just need a MacBook, Ralph.
I don't know how to use one though. I
Oh,
have
which
an
one?
option. A Mac? I don't know how to use that.
I
We
worked
can
with Mac all
wait
my
till
life,
Chance
so
come back.
I can use it myself.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
No, do you
And
have to?
we,
Do you have to watch everything that syncs?
I think we should have the
Like
policy
my
not
watch
to
syncs, my computer
start it
syncs, my
until
phone
we
syncs,
start.
See,
everything
I've never
syncs.
all
owned
together.
anything Apple. I've never even owned
So
an
that way
iPod back in the
we
day.
don't have to
Well, how did you
clean
listen
up
to it?
sometimes some things.
The tape that goes with the cassette in the car.
Yeah.
with the CD.
And then you go like,
And
then
I
you
know
wanna
IT
rewind
does
and
that
hear it
too,
again, you
but
go,
anyway,
and push it
Okay.
20 times to get to the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I get
thank you.
So I have a Samsung. My work phone's an iPhone. It's my first iPhone.
I think I need this a little bit higher.
I didn't want to wait for the tape.
Do we have everybody in the room that we need to be?
Commissioner Harvey.
Is- Is Chance gonna be our attorney for the interlocking agreement?
He is your attorney for today. I don't know if he's presenting that one or not. Okay. Dun, dun, dun.
Kaden, can I? Judith sent an information to our attorney also, or just came just to us?
No, it went to everybody. So
Okay, thank
Mitch
you.
got a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
I made sure everybody was covered with the information. And my attorney's supposed to join, but
Okay,
I don't know.
Because
if
I
his
did reach
schedule
out to
changed.
him, but he didn't respond to me, so anyway, so
Yeah,
thank
no,
you, I might make sure,
in
thank
the
you.
email I sent everybody the same attachments, so we
Okay,
can be on the same.
thank you. Huh.
Okay.
Sorry.
On that one, David
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
sent it to Craig.
okay. This morning you did?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
She replied she will push it to the state and send us the envelope with surveys.
The only thing is, Todd's replying back to her. Do we, obviously,
Still bring her in.
we brought him in the loop because he wasn't in on that meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, I've talked to him about it.
Okay.
Read
Well-
on that email reply to her and then
Okay.
he sent it out and she wants to come to commission meeting. So I told her we'd have it on the next work session.
One more minute.
Sorry, carbon versus Yeah, I see this.
Let's see here.
Are we waiting for Jen's? Is that what we're doing? What are we waiting for?
We could go.
We can go ahead and go, I guess. He's contacting the mayor from
Oh,
Bluff. Okay, Mac, if you can clear that, I can be able to read. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right in your way, huh?
Okay. We'd like to welcome you, everyone, to our Board of Commissioners work session meeting. Today is December 16, 2025. It's 9:04, and we'll call the meeting to order. Um, Calling to order, so
Commissioner Mon here.
Commissioner Stubbs here. And we'll turn the time to Mac for the agenda items.
Okay, this first one here, you've got the San Juan County Rural Economic Blueprint presentation, the final draft review. We have August here. August is from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, the Technical Outreach Manager. You also have Deborah, who we're familiar face here. And then Talia is on her way in. She's running a little bit behind, but she'll be here. So first we'll turn our attention over to August.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. A short visit from a neighbor over in Moab. My first time in this lovely, very fresh commission chambers compared to Grand County. So you guys are doing well. If you want to go to the slides, you can go right to the second slide here. I'll introduce myself a little bit. So I'm August Granith, as Max said. I'm a technical outreach manager with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity on the Center for Rural Development team. So I support Deborah. Deborah is the outreach manager, kind of everything she works on. In early 2025, we started this program, the Rural Economic Blueprint Program, which was a result of the 24 and 24 tour that the managing directors of GOEO did around the state in every rural county, really asking the leaders in the communities what kind of other resources should GOEO be providing when it comes to economic development in rural communities. And they found that it's really great that GOEO provides some direct financial assistance in the way of the Rural County Grant and the Rural Community Opportunities Grant, but that in the absence of kind of planning tools to really, make a plan of how to spend those resources, that they weren't getting kind of the full value of those programs. So the idea was to bring somebody in-house to GOEO to basically provide a free consulting service to rural communities, to provide economic development strategic planning support. So in early 2025, I was brought on, kind of designed the program, and this has been our pilot year. We've worked with 9 communities, and we're wrapping them up hopefully here. So a little bit of context on what the program is and what it isn't. It is a free service, so we're not charging communities for this service. It is community driven, so this isn't the state's kind of project to make rural communities adopt state priorities. Quite the opposite. It's really a facilitated process to ensure that rural communities are able to put their priorities down on paper so that they can use that to go get funding resources from the state or other funders, or tell, to the public, community stakeholders, this is where we're trying to head as a community. And then lastly, it's not necessarily a full all-encompassing everything you ever want from an economic development planning process, but really is the starting point to point to the projects that you as a community might want to do. So if you go to the next slide, just a brief outline of the process itself. I got to look at my own. That's too small for me to read up on that screen. So we have a brief application and selection process. And then there's 2 main kind of planning steps. There's an initial assessment phase that's very much looking at the state of the economy today in the community, based off of quantitative economic data that's gathered by our data analyst on staff at GOEO, and community input that's gathered via survey, as well as one-on-one interviews with stakeholders. We work very closely with an individual we call the local economic development champion. In this case, that's Talia. And we created a working team, basically working committee between myself, Deborah, Talia, to develop a steering committee. All of the people that we have one-on-one interviews with, that we bring draft documents to get feedback from and say, hey, this is our first stab at this. Is this right? Okay, I'll make these changes bring it back, and that's what we're doing today. So this is kind of the result of the conversations that we've had with the steering committee, with Talia, and from our kind of original research. The other piece that comes out of the initial assessment is a SWOT analysis. So kind of trying to summarize all of those conversations with stakeholders and the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then pivoting towards the future. What is an ideal vision of the future economy as described by local stakeholders? And then developing a set of goals, strategies, and projects based off of that vision and what the local economic development champion and stakeholders have identified as priorities. And then we write that up and bring it to you guys. So that's what I'll be presenting today. So you can go to the report document. That slide is for someone else. But those are the questions that we ask people. Maybe it's worth flagging. In our conversations, we ask folks, what's your role in the local economy? What are the best and worst parts about living and working in your community? What do you see of the assets that make up the wealth in your local economy? What is the ideal vision of your local economy in the future? What kind of investments should be made to improve the assets in your community to move closer to that ideal future vision? And what kind of conflicts exist that need to be navigated in order to accomplish that vision? So I'll try to provide as much detail as is useful, and I will try not to bore you with some of the maybe not super important details for today. So maybe scroll up one more just to the table of contents. One more before that. So the report is structured just a brief acknowledgments page describing everybody who's worked on the project, an overview of the program. If you're curious to kind of read more about the background, I won't dive into those two. Then we have a couple pages with some quantitative data, the economic data snapshot, the initial assessment, and the strategic plan. I think if we just go straight to the initial assessment, I'll go over the SWOT analysis briefly, go over the ideal vision for the future, and then go over the project's kind of matrix. And you can kind of get an idea of what statistics are in here, some population numbers, median age, employment rate, median household income, educational attainment, major industries. This is broken down by NAICS code, number of jobs by NAICS code, and then location quotient, which is basically you divide the share of jobs in that industry by the share of jobs nationally to give you an idea of how specialized that industry is within your area. So for example, on this one, mining, quarrying, oil and gas shows that in San Juan County, jobs in that industry make up 8 times as many jobs as the national average, which I think makes sense for your community. So just some useful indicators there to paint the picture of the economy. If you go down to the next table, this is Department of Workforce Services statistics on employment by employer. These are full-time W-2 employers. By number employed, they don't give you a specific count, but it's between, you got the number one employer is between 250 and 499 employees. Montezuma Creek Community Health, Navajo Health Services, Utah Navajo Health Services, excuse me. And then within those buckets, it's in alphabetical order. So it's not saying that Aramark is the number 2 employer in the county, but that between that Aramark company and USU statewide campus, they all employ between that 100 to 249 employees. And then you've got another bucket between that 50 to 99 employees.
Do we have San Juan County there as employees?
It doesn't look like it. I noticed that some...
The reason I'm thinking, because last time we had a Christmas party, half the people were there and it was about 100 people.
Yeah. What I noticed was when you get into the next bucket, this like 25 to 49, some of the county departments were separated. The way that the Department of Workforce Services calculates this is by employment site. So like the sheriff's office and like I think the roads department were listed separately. So
I was just curious.
So instead of saying every single San Juan County employee is in one bucket and therefore gets elevated to one of these higher
The other
numbers.
question I have, when you said 250 to 499, is the possibility a growth in that industry, having 250 now with a possibility. Is that what it's? That number means?
That number means that they employ anywhere between that number.
Okay.
So because it's private data,
Oh,
the state doesn't
okay.
want to share,
Okay,
twice a year employment numbers in case that is a competitive, providing information to a competitor that could be used against them. So they give a range.
Okay.
So that's saying that this information is from September 2024. That in September 2024, Utah Navajo Health Systems employed anywhere between 250 and
Okay.
499 employees
Thank you.
at that point in time.
okay.
Yeah.
So is that why the schools are divided? Did you divide
Yeah.
it by site, and then those
Exactly.
other schools have less than 50?
Yep. So that's what the little paragraph says, is describing that. And that's just a quirk of how they gather the statistics. And rather than making like a blended secondary table in which I'm saying, well, these should be together, I don't actually know what the underlying numbers are. So we're just passing on, the data as is from the Department of Workforce Services.
Okay.
But yeah, I think a useful kind of gut check
Mhm.
against, what does the economy look like? Where are the major employers and the major industries?
And because this is a working document, that's definitely something that can be updated,
Yeah.
as the information comes out as well.
Yeah. Like they release this data biannually. So they just released the March 2025 data, for example. Okay. And I'll just read the high level pieces here from here so I can read it. So once again, we are presenting this as a final draft, but that doesn't a final emphasis on the draft. If there's anything that you feel is not reflective of the county and what you want to see as kind of reflecting policy from the commission, you have an opportunity today to express that and request revisions. So I'm presenting this to you as the best version of what we have so far, but by no means the absolute final. You have to accept this draft. So keep that in mind as I'm going through this.
I appreciate this. I like projects that come from the ground up instead trickle down from the top, because this tells our story better and our needs. So I was just curious about those things. So
Yeah.
you guys, this is good.
Okay, great. I appreciate that.
And I am taking notes, okay?
So if there-
Recorded, I promise.
Okay. All right. I'll dive into this. In terms of strengths, we start with recognizing San Juan County's diverse economic foundation. San Juan County's economy is supported by anchor employers in education, healthcare, tourism, and mining industries. This economic diversity provides resilience during fluctuations in the tourism and energy industries. Second, workforce development is a strength. One of the county's institutional assets is the Utah State University Blanding campus. Functions as a workforce development engine by providing a local path for practical certifications, such as CDL, welding, nursing, etc., aligned with local employer needs. Another strength is the agricultural history and future of San Juan County. The county's communities were developed with agriculture as their foundation, with room to grow. The general plan's resource management section confirms that supporting agriculture and multiple use of public lands is a long-standing county priority. Many stakeholders identify this as a base to develop more localized food systems. Fourth strength here is community culture. Stakeholder interviews and survey respondents convey a deep appreciation for the social fabric of San Juan County, namely a small town quality of life and a close-knit community that is resourceful, resilient, and takes care of each other. And stop me at any point. I'm just going to kind of keep reading until I hear a comment. Rich natural assets, another strength. County is home to globally recognized natural landscapes, including Canyonlands, Bears Ears, the San Juan River, Lake Powell, and Monument Valley, which serves as the bedrock of the tourism economy. Geological deposits of uranium, oil, potash, copper, and other critical minerals drive the local energy and mining industries as well. And lastly, high entrepreneurial desire. Stakeholders identified numerous aspiring entrepreneurs, such as barbers, bakers, and fabricators who are ready to go, excited to grow their businesses, but are constrained by a lack of commercial space or essential infrastructure that's needed to start or grow their businesses. Any comments on strengths before I move on to some weaknesses here? Okay. And then I should say, as I'm describing these, this isn't like poking a jab at the rib of San Juan County or anything like that. It's simply trying to observe where are some of the things that could be worked on, that could be improved in an ideal world, right? So first weakness here is water quality and scarcity. This is the most frequently cited barrier, appearing in interviews, the survey, and regional reports as an existential threat. A stakeholder mentioned an anecdote of a community garden failing, specifically because they could not acquire water rights, which makes this a concrete, immediate problem, not just a future risk. Additionally, documented water contamination concerns in some areas further exacerbate this risk. Second, a critical housing shortage and affordability crisis. It's a challenge. Nearly every stakeholder in planning document identifies a severe lack of attainable housing as a primary barrier to workforce attraction and therefore growth. According to the Dwelling on the Future report, 60% of households in San Juan County cannot afford an average priced home if buying from scratch, meaning they don't have family property, land, something like that. Broadband and cell service needs. The Navajo Nation SEDS Community Economic Development Survey strategy, and multiple interviews highlight limited service in many areas, making remote work, online education, and modern business operations difficult for a large portion of the county. There are exceptions to this, as Emory Telecom has run fiber lines to some parts of the county, providing fast and reliable broadband to those communities. Additionally, community centers provide access to Wi-Fi in areas with limited or inconsistent service. 3 more here. A lack of commercial
Can I
space.
just make a comment about
Yes, please.
The technology part?
Yeah.
Do you know, one of the things, the letters I receive usually is when they're building a tower.
Okay.
And lots of those letters don't come from local, it comes from the outside. There is one proposed tower, I think it's in settled land up in the southern part of the county, which is inside reservation. And people don't like the certain height. Some people worry about, and I learned not to respond to those anymore because I have to respond to everything and it gets harder. But in order to have the technology there, you need certain height. Like we have one in Spanish Valley, the people were fighting the height. Well, it's a bowl. Inside a bowl, you have to go high enough to be able to receive. And so sometimes it's a matter of educating, okay, yeah, we worry about the animals, worry about that, but as a previous early childhood educator, I worry about the children not having the opportunity to be able to do the homework and do the things, have that facility. And we had done lots of good moving the broadband down south, but there's opportunities. And I think with time, there'll be things that we can receive from the air and I have to worry about towers and things like that. But that's one thing that sometimes as commissioners, we get special planning and zoning commission.
Get pushback on it.
We spent one night about, started the meeting at 6, was 10 o'clock, probably 2 hours that I was talking about the size of a tower.
So maybe something for me to add to this to kind of capture that comment is that an additional challenge to resolving that weakness is pushback from the community when it comes to...
And it's education,
Yeah.
just educating and showing. And also trying to figure out how do we move forward to the future and still preserve the traditional ways and things like that.
For sure.
So it's kind of balancing that. It's kind of hard for a county where we deal with multiple things, with tribal land and monuments and all this stuff. So.
Okay, no, that makes sense to me, I think. Thanks for adding that. And so I'll try to incorporate maybe an additional sentence in that paragraph, trying to capture that kind of resistance or the education required to kind of overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, a couple more on the weaknesses. Lack of commercial space is a primary barrier to growing the local economy. Stakeholders communicate that there's a lack of affordable office, retail, or light industrial space for rent. This is preventing the county's ready-to-go entrepreneurs from kind of getting going. Geographic remoteness. Stakeholders noted the county's vast frontier geography creates high travel and supply costs. Minimal private property, a structural economic weakness for San Juan County that is detailed in the general plan that I think we're all familiar with, right? Okay, I'll go on to opportunities unless there's any more notes there. Okay, one of the great opportunities is major industrial expansion into rare earths for the Energy Fuels White Mesa Mill. That has been cited as kind of the most obvious next kind of growth opportunity, job growth opportunity for the region and the community. Second is to expand.
Can I just say they had an open house in Energy Fuel,
Okay.
and they had lots of presenters, and they put it in one video. So if you reach out to them and find out, I think it will give you lots of idea of the speakers and the future of energy and how they visualize their. There'll be something just for your information.
Sweet.
Not necessary for this,
Yeah.
but it'd be nice to.
You have it.
You had it? Oh, good. She has it.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay. Another opportunity is to expand local agriculture. Stakeholders discussed the need for more grocery stores and a desire to grow more food locally. One stakeholder had a strong vision for the community and region becoming a local market hub that incorporates traditional farming practices and can supply food to local communities. Additionally, there's an opportunity to strengthen the local agriculture industry's ability to process and distribute products grown locally and regionally. Two more that I'll mention on opportunities. Three more, excuse me. Carefully grow the tourism economy, develop locally oriented businesses that also cater to visitors and provide services and goods that residents currently travel outside the county to access. This kind of goes in more detail to describe kind of some of the ideal vision for the future tourism economy and its opportunities. Leveraging broadband for a digital economy is another opportunity, kind of the flip side of the weakness of not having that interconnectivity, and how continuing to expand that creates remote work opportunities and education opportunities in the community. And then lastly, continuing to support economic development through entrepreneurship, ensuring that home-based businesses are able to thrive and that light manufacturing has room to grow, opportunities to extend utility infrastructure to appropriate commercial sites, and enabling private development is important here. Last one, threats and barriers to progress. Water constraints, again, remains the most significant barrier. Brain drain and population stagnation. One survey respondent stated, "Our greatest export is our children." We hear that in rural Utah a lot. This fear is validated by the Dwelling on the Future assessment, which forecasts population decline. Unless addressed, this demographic change represents a slow diminishing of the community's future workforce and tax base. And three more here. External policy on public lands, as San Juan County's economy is highly sensitive to federal land policies, including national monument designations, grazing regulations, mineral extraction rules. This dynamic affects long-term planning investment, making it important for the county to remain adaptable and engaged in federal processes. Third, a resistance to change amongst certain community members. I think you mentioned this moments ago as it pertains to broadband, but trying to balance a genuine desire to protect what makes San Juan County unique and the traditions of the community and kind of what people feel they value, while it's still trying to move into the future. And then lastly, jurisdictional, political, and social divisions. According to stakeholders, getting things done in San Juan County requires the navigation of numerous governmental bureaucracies, including those at the federal, state, county, local, and tribal level. This has created challenges that have strained relationships between all parties and limits economic progress. Several stakeholders also emphasize that collaboration has been improving in recent years, offering a foundation for stronger regional progress moving forward. Any comments on any of that before I move on to the ideal vision for a future economy, the 5 bullets there? Okay. So this kind of tries to summarize everyone's perspectives that we talked with to try to create somewhat of a compass of where the economy should go. So the first bullet here is a diverse economy of family-sustaining jobs that provides economic mobility. The ideal future is a stronger and more diverse economy that retains its high-wage industrial base in health, education, and mining, and fosters more local businesses that provide year-round employment while allowing for residents to climb the economic ladder. Second here is an economy where youth can return home, Stakeholders emphasize a future where young people can pursue education, develop skills, and return home to meaningful careers. Residents hope for a community where young adults can afford housing, raise families, and build their futures locally. Third, an economy built on authenticity. Residents of San Juan County want economic growth that stays true to the community's roots. As one stakeholder said, I picture a community where people can thrive economically while staying connected to their traditions and environment. Fourth, an economy supported by improved infrastructure. Stakeholders see a clear bottleneck and envision a future where foundational needs are met. This means investment in affordable housing, broadband, childcare services, and available commercial space so entrepreneurs can launch and expand their businesses. And lastly, an economy that is built on effective communication. A key component of the ideal future is a new era of communication and cooperation among government, tribal leaders, business owners, and citizens. Stronger coordination across jurisdictions is essential for aligning priorities and supporting sustainable economic progress. Any notes on that?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Since I work with economic development as as a commissioner, and just going around working with the grants and different things, I noticed the businesses that are successful are the family businesses because they have built in the helpers. I don't know if Italia noticed that too, but they seem to do a lot of the business in Blondie, the long time businesses, a business that have gone generation and generation. I mostly work with the, Blondie down south. But so, as I do have a grant, thank you to Olio, they helped me get it. Anyway, so I noticed, trying to see how I can help business, those type of business, they can be long lasting. If something happened with business, people give up. They start a business, they give up soon because they don't have that support. It's kind of hard to find a helper. They don't show up or whatever. And it's very time consuming. I have been there, so I understand that, worrying that if somebody's going to show up for work or not. But anyway, so I like all the areas that you got target, and I'm appreciative of that. So, and I'm looking forward for us to start using this. And me and Talia, we try to combine a little pennies together to be able to stretch them. So
Totally. Yeah, no, what I'm hearing you say is some family businesses come with built-in resiliency and support when someone's sick or you don't have staff, and that's an important kind of component of the economy locally. Does that sound about right?
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I'll just fly through this last piece here. So I included the 5-year vision that's currently in the 2018 update to the general plan, just as a reference. So if somebody hasn't, looked at any other policy, they can see that, this is where things were 7 years ago and where they are now. I'm not going to go through that today. And then I'll just go through the new goals, strategies, and projects and be done. So if you go down to the next page. Okay. So this is kind of the actionable, tangible part of this plan that really gives Talia and the commission, you all, kind of a working list of projects to take and prioritize from here into the future. This is kind of thinking on a 5-year timeline.
I just want to interject really quick too. This was important to me, particularly for this, because I wanted it to be actionable.
Talia, can you come to the microphone so that it can be recorded? Thank you.
Okay. So this section is really important to me because it's communicating what I've learned from my first year of being here, and then the strategy of what you'll see in the next year and then the few years moving forward. I think as a new department that was really important because we haven't had that laid out so that everyone understands clearly what we're working on and how we're prioritizing that. But I also really want it's economic mobility driven and it's data driven for our area specifically. So these are in response to what we see. And so we're not throwing spaghetti at the wall is what I want to say is that this is really something that we're trying to be calculated and thoughtful in that process. So, and thank you for helping me.
Yeah, thanks, Talia.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just go through this, and then we'll be done here. Take any questions. So the first goal is really focused all on business to retain, expand, and recruit businesses in San Juan County. 3 different strategies here. The first is to connect local businesses to technical assistance. Projects include supporting businesses to gain access to grants and resources, such as the Weber State Wildcat Fund, USDA, RCAC, alphabet soup that happens in bureaucracy, but all good resources for local businesses. To do for the local Economic Development Department to update San Juan County's Economic Development website. And then third project here is to facilitate the Business Base Camp Conference and other educational workshops. Lastly is to support the newly rebuilt San Juan Chamber. Second strategy here is to develop a regional entrepreneur hub network with 2 projects. One is to renovate the classroom and purchase equipment for the Monticello Center here at the library. And the second is to support innovation in business hubs in several communities in the county, including LaSalle, White Mesa, Bluff, Monument Valley, and future locations. Last strategy here is to retain existing businesses and recruit new employers to San Juan County. First project is to collaborate with the Utah Inland Port Authority, EDC Utah, and our team at GOEO to identify target areas for development and market those parcels to prospective businesses. Second project here is to target scalable startup businesses that focus on research and development in STEM fields and automated manufacturing. Second goal is to support the development of the local workforce. First strategy is to build economic development department capacity to manage workforce development programs, which will take place in the form of hiring an AmeriCorps Vista is the project associated with that strategy. Second strategy is to perform research to evaluate workforce development needs. This first project here is to establish a committee to lead a workforce evaluation process in San Juan County, follow that up with an assessment of workforce gaps, and work with local educational institutions to create programs needed to fill those gaps. And then third is to analyze the ability of the local workforce to meet industry needs. Moving on to the third strategy here is to expand local workforce development programs. A couple projects, create training programs in resume development, interview practice, basic math, office software, and other relevant skills. Second project here is to increase the quantity and outreach of job fairs and boards in San Juan County. Third is to partner with stores and volunteer organizations to improve access to professional work clothing. Fourth is to develop a workforce pipeline that prioritizes volunteerism as a means to gain work experience and employment. Fifth is to renovate classroom space at the Monticello Library to improve ability to provide training. And lastly, develop child care resources in order to expand employment opportunities for working parents. Third goal is to maintain and improve the infrastructure necessary for economic development. First strategy is to simply maintain existing levels of service to residential and commercial users, simply appropriately funding and staffing, planning, building, and road departments. Second strategy here is to improve infrastructure to alleviate capacity constraints that allow for the pursuit of additional economic development opportunities. A couple projects here, partner with private developers to build housing, support the private expansion of broadband connectivity and seek grant funding to support that, develop public transportation options to connect outlying rural areas to job centers, support natural gas pipeline extension to facilitate greater interconnection to commercial and residential users, and improve water purification and distribution in the county. Fourth, this is kind of internal, improve economic development department operations and sustainability. The first strategy here is to increase department capacity to develop and execute programs, increase paid staff to advance workforce development, economic mobility, and technical assistance programming. Second is to develop an internship program attached to the Department of Workforce Services vocational rehab program. Second strategy is to improve departmental operations to ensure short-term effectiveness and long-term sustainability. Couple projects, develop standard operating procedures for the department, create a project management dashboard for the department, develop financial sustainability for the department through grant funding, county general fund, and sponsorships. create quality annual reporting to the commission and to the public, and lastly, create effective public communication about department programs through social media, email, and print media. And then that last piece here is kind of an implementation goal. This is really to ensure that this blueprint or plan doesn't immediately end up on a shelf and is never looked at again. So the strategy is to create systems of accountability and support to ensure that the plan is implemented. 3 projects: create or designate an implementation committee to oversee the completion of the plan, assign specific staff with the responsibility of implementing the plan, and if necessary, allocate sufficient funding to support staff and committees as they implement the plan. And that's it. So if there's any comments, I can take them now and we can consider them. As this isn't being considered at as an action item today, there's also opportunity to send comments via email and follow up that we can incorporate into a final version before we bring to a future meeting. I also know that you have other agenda items to get to today in this work session, so happy to take any comments or happy to.
I just have a comment. I know Talia has been doing a good job of implementing lots of these things. She not only teaching people how to fish, but show them how they can go fish themselves when it comes to grants, because everybody needs grants, and she has been really good at that. And also the annual meetings that she had where she invited guest speakers. So I feel really good about that and the cooperation we have from your department to come and help us and assist us when we have projects. It's nice to have you come and just be like, part of the team. And I just want to make one comment about transportation.
Okay.
And I know Talia has looked a lot on that, but we have a great opportunity with Olympics coming our direction for us to try to reach out and find out how we can have some of those dollars come our way to help us improve transportation. So I just wanted to add that. And anybody has a Commissioner
No, I was
Harvey,
just going to
Commissioner
say, I feel this is a great, well, yeah, you call it a blueprint or a roadmap, I would say as well. So it's a very good document with data to help us at least get a starting point where we want to go. So thanks for your hard work,
For sure.
Commissioner
all
Harvey.
of you who are in it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. A couple of thoughts I just want to contribute to the conversation. Where I am from, the Navajo Reservation, in my community, I normally report to the Aneth chapter, Mexican Water chapter, Red Mesa chapter, Tisnaspas chapter. And one typical comment that I usually get is that they are not aware of the state functions in regards to plans that are being made that impact them. And I think my biggest ask would be that if we could also take this information out to there are 7 Utah chapters. Madam Chair represents about four additional chapters out Navajo Mountain. Navajo Mountain's probably the furthest. Then you've got Old Jato chapter, Denahotso chapter, and a lot of the community members there that are present, they do not speak the language English. So my conversations are primarily in Denebazad. So it's good when you're taking a comprehensive document like this to summarize and just highlight the main points and have someone translate that information. That's valuable. It allows the members out there to feel included and to be aware. Because I think we live out in the most rural parts. And, for me, coming up here, it takes me about an hour to get here. And I have to fight through the construction. I'm very grateful for the construction down that way. Very grateful. We've been waiting so long for that. And the work that it is providing for our community. It's just very, very awesome. Another perspective is a lot of us down in those communities, we do a lot of work with kind of jewelry. So they're more self-employment, rug making, taking our cultural goods to the Four Corners, to the national parks where they'll allow us to sell. And that's maybe a cultural skill that is passed on in our community, one generation to the next, kind of like cattle. The community that does the cattle, generation to the next generation. That's us. We sell jewelry, we do rugs, we celebrate who we are with basket making. And that's another piece. When we can't travel, everyone has to work in Moab to drive that distance. Some people do. But others decide, I'm going to celebrate who I am as a Native American. So I'm going to learn the art, the traditional art, and use that as my main source of income. So that's another piece that should be acknowledged, I think. But that's just some thoughts. But I think for the biggest piece, if we could share this information with the local chapters who are in the county, in the state, that would be great. I can do my part, but that's my biggest ask. But acknowledging the work that has gone into this, that's great. I've always been concerned about the educational institutions aligning our economic, the need for labor, skilled labor, because we have the mine, we have energy fuels, and it felt like the educational institutions are just churning out nurses, and that's overdone now. But I can see that this study is actually bringing things to the current state and identifying the current priorities for skilled labor. So that's great. I really appreciate that. I'll leave my comments at that, Madam Chair. I like to talk.
I want to turn the time to Talia, so she can tell us what she's doing in her upper mobility projects and all the business she's helping create down in the reservation. And since, we cannot put in writing and in Navajo writing, because people don't know how to read the Navajo writing. So I think what Talia does, going in person and trying to explain and work with them. And then we'll have, Commissioner Mon has a comment after that. But
Okay.
she can address some of the things.
So I'm actually really excited that you brought that up, Commissioner Harvey. What hasn't gone into the report is actually going to come later on in an economic mobility report. But what we have done is we've worked on figuring out how to better communicate this information. And over the last year, we've done a pilot where we bring in the chapter houses, leadership, and their office managers. And they've kind of guided the conversation of what their needs are. It's grown recently, and I'm really pleased about this, to include nonprofits as well as the CLEPSI committees so that we're able to disseminate that information a little bit better. And then the last meeting that we had, we came to an agreement of an actual schedule that we'll have and will be sponsored by the county to gather regularly. It'll happen monthly, and that's where we'll have those that information presented. So we will present this. What I actually really like too is that they have given me a list of the departments and industry concerns that they have. So we can bring in the expertise and they can present directly so they know what the resources are to them and that will work for them on the reservation, as well as brainstorm where we're seeing maybe we do need to bring in for policy help or areas that may be outside of their purview, but they can help advocate for that for themselves. The other thing that I really appreciate about these meetings too is translation has been brought up. Through our economic mobility grant, we do have funds for a translator. So they will be there for some of the meetings that we have. We're working on getting an RFP out so we can get one. Additionally, too, a project that was brought up and that it will be focused on for the new year is to help Delegate Unito complete the consortium that he needs for his 5 chapter houses in the final resolutions. We'll be using our funding from that grant to help do those gatherings for them, and they will actually be having experts with the consortium portion there at our base camp in March. And then as for our artists, that is a big deal. In the base camp in March, we'll also have the state of Utah here, and they're directly going to tell our artists how to get funding for them to be able to teach the next generation. So they're actually paid to be able to teach them how to do basket weaving, and then we'll develop partnerships so that we can have a continuation of the artists. And then we'll also have people there that will teach us about sales and how to get into the different markets for museums and other places throughout Utah, not just here locally, so that we have an expansion of what they're doing. And then we are working, and I'm very excited with the San Juan County grant. I have 2 more virtual sessions. I may add one on again. And we're getting a great response from different businesses. But what I've been thrilled is I've gone to Monument Valley, and there we had 5 businesses that are interested in our grant. And we have a couple of startups. And they range from photography, tourism, barbershops. And so I'm very excited that there's trust that's been built, that I can help, I will help, but that they also feel that they have resources. The Weber State Wildcat Funds is going on in our area. We'll start pushing that very hard, but we've piloted 3 businesses going through there so that we can improve our technical assistance. And one of them is a Navajo-owned business, which I think is super exciting. But that's where we're at. We're keep going forward. And then you had a question?
I guess this is my questions with the whole blueprint, is that we have the blueprint and then we have goals that are listed. So what's the action plan beyond the goals? I guess that's, and also I would like to see the schedule that you spoke of, if we can see the schedule of the chapter house meetings and that, if you could email that to us. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is a really important question. What's the point of putting this all together if it doesn't go do something, right?
Sure.
So the intention of the design of this process is that, first we do this, stakeholder engagement and kind of context setting, and then creating a set of goals and strategies and projects. And then, if the commission decides, yes, we like this, we're going to adopt this as our economic blueprint, then the next step is implementation, which is going to be kind of a co-led between Deborah and Talia. And so the idea would be that, take this document, create that implementation committee to then say, okay, which of these projects can we actually focus on in 2026 that we're going to attack with, the resources available to us, whether that's convening resources, financial resources, and otherwise, and make that for the year. That's our working plan. That's what we're gonna push forward. And then Talia has the support from Deborah at Goyo and the other resources that are available to go make that happen. So it's not. That's kind of my purpose, is to kind of tee this up and then pass it off to Deborah to kind of be the implementation support, and kind of supporting Talia and whoever kind of gets put together to be that like working team to help push it forward.
And with the big focus of using RCG funds and RCOG funds, right? All of these projects would be eligible for the Rural Communities Opportunity Grant that I will help you guys apply for every year that you're eligible. So a lot of these projects are within mind that they fall within the scope of GOEO funding as well. And if the legislature is good to us, you know, next year maybe there are other opportunities for funding through GOEO as well.
Okay. Okay.
And then a lot what we've done is already attached to programs. And so I forgot to mention, we've already hired Kelsey Contral. She is our new economic mobility manager. So she'll actually help me with implementation. We also have Una, who has been hired. She is our housing fellow. So she's already helping me with implementation for the housing portions of the projects that we've done. And then we'll be doing AmeriCorps. I should have that person hired by April 10th, and they'll be going on through the training. So all of the activities that we have aren't just based off me doing it alone. They're broken up and they're already managed within projects that have already been defined within grants, so that it's actionable for us to be able to do that. And then I'll work with GOYO so that I don't burn out and we can get a lot done. But thank you.
I just want to make a comment. This is not something that we decide today. This is a process that has been going from day one
Yeah, it's
when you were here, and now, continue. So it's not something, so it's easy. You can see how it's not just in writing. It has been a process going on. And just to answer one thing that Commissioner Harvey mentioned about the Four Corner Monument area, myself and Delegate Curtis Janito have been talking about exploring the possibility, and we can work together in our funds to create more vendor possibilities for the members there. And so that is in the process. And thank you so much. This has been very enlightening, and I feel like I'm a little bit part of this, so I'm excited to be able to continue to work on this project. Thank you for your time. Nice to see you again. And did you need to say anything? You wanna
No, I don't need to stand at the mic, but I was just gonna say, I
You
think
can come over here.
Oh.
They can't hear you. It's not on the record.
Yeah.
I think that our hope is to bring it back for the January 20th
Okay.
county commission meeting. So if, that gives you plenty of time to review, give us your comments. We'll add them into a draft and distribute that as well. So enjoy the holidays. But as soon as you gather your thoughts on the document, we'll be happy to put those in, and then hopefully final adoption January 20th.
And thank you to you, and make sure you tell your team, the rest of the team, and we appreciate everything that is done in our behalf. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having us.
Mac, I guess
Okay,
you
the
go
next
to,
item on your agenda is the Monticello Justice Court contract proposal. We have Kaden here, city manager from Monticello, as well as Mitch Ma, our county attorney. Jens is also here, our county attorney.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so my thought was talk about cases first and then go back and talk about the agreement. Does that work for you? Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure. So if you'll scroll down, yes. So these numbers are what I gathered from the state of Utah. Now, some of the financial numbers, I will admit, are wrong because I don't have the full year closed out yet. So we're still processing things on the Monticello side. But this is a list of all of the cases Monticello has gathered, and it looks like it matches up so far with yours that I've seen here. There along the top, it breaks down the misdemeanors versus small claims versus traffic. As you can see, Monticello is, I don't know, what's that, 85% traffic, 90% traffic? So we have a lot of traffic cases. That's just the Monticello Justice Court. Small claims, 1 or 2 a year, and then misdemeanors anywhere from 50 to 100. Just kind of depends on what's going on. And that includes DUIs in there as well. Any questions on just kind of the historic caseload of Monticello? I forgot your last name for like 30 seconds there. Mon. I'm like, Attorney Mon can help me explain this a little bit better. The state of Utah released this to me from the court system that Monticello City's total net workload, which I understand is just kind of the workload on the judge, not the attorneys, is right around 15%. It looks like their 2020 doesn't exist apparently to them, but after that, we've been anywhere from 10 to 15% of a judge's workload. Now, that means that some of the cases will be settled by the attorney before they even get to the judge. In those cases, the attorney's still putting in the work for a lot of that traffic cases that don't come before the judge. Just below that, though, I broke out the total cases in the city of Monticello, outside the city of Monticello, and then no city at all. I don't know what category that is because it's either Monticello or not to me, but I included it. So we've had, according to that documentation, about 32 cases for the city of Monticello this year and 1,300 for not inside Monticello. So based on those numbers, we're looking at just right below that as the percentages. Monticello is about 2.4% of those cases, and then the surrounding counties about 97.2. I believe both of those numbers are kind of what contributes to us being about 15% of the workload for the judge. The last thing I want to talk about before we talk about some of these numbers that I want to call you Commissioner, but you're not. We have Commissioner Mon and we have Attorney Mon. This is going to confuse me.
Just call me Lori.
On the revenue, this is the part that I want to talk the most with you guys. In the green is all of our total collected fines and forfeits according to city records. You'll notice 2025 is low, and that's because our year's not over yet. We function about 3 months behind what has actually happened. So I'm about 3 months behind on my revenue numbers, but my state fees and my expenses are as of November. So if you look on the 2024, because that's a full year combined, we brought in $289,000 that year. The state fees that we have to pay were $130,000. And then the general expenses for the city to operate the justice court. This includes paying for our judge, prosecuting attorneys, defending attorneys. If we have to have I'm going to call him a substitute judge. If he cannot participate in one of the cases, he'll call in somebody else and we pay for them. We also pay for city general attorney services from the same account. That's the way it's historically been done in Monticello. That's a fee that would drop out of there, but I included it just for number's sake because I understand you are taking on the workload of our court. I wanted to include a little bit of error when it came to the expenses by raising them slightly. And then the very bottom line is our total net revenue after we get the income from it, we operate, and then what comes into the city after that point. Any questions on the revenue there? Okay. I want to talk about the cases too, but the last thing on my slide was a recommended arrangement that we could come to. Ultimately, my thought process is with us working with the sheriff's contract, renew our contract, we still are paying for services outside of that contract that are dependent on the justice court operation. Things like our speed shifts. They'll do a random speed shift that lasts 4 to 8 hours, depending on how many officers get assigned. And they voluntarily pick up those shifts, but we use our justice court money to pay that extra cost that is outside our sheriff's agreement. And during the negotiations on the sheriff's agreement, so far, we've all kind of agreed this is an extra thing that the sheriff's office is doing for us. So we don't want to include that in the contract because it varies by month how many speed shifts there are or if there's no speed shifts at all. So my thought process was looking at the costs and the money coming in. If 35% of that came back to the city, that would aid us in paying all of those speed shift fees for the sheriff's department and any extra sheriff fees that we might accumulate over the year. And then the 65% would go back into the county funds to be distributed how you guys would see fit. Does that make sense? A little bit clearer with the numbers this round?
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any questions for me before I turn it over to Attorney Mon to go through?
Probably after we hear both sides.
Oh, both sides. And then we can talk contract because we rewrote it completely based on input. So
Are you gonna find any mistakes in here?
Oh, I'm sure you will. So is this in the packet also, or not? Was this in the packet?
No, it wasn't in the packet.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Mitch.
So here are the numbers that I got from Judge Hazelton. These are the numbers that were reported to the state. And it's a comparison. If you look at line 3, so for 2024, the San Juan County Justice Court, the total revenue that was brought in 2024 was $606,961. That's for the San Juan County Justice Court. For the Monticello Justice Court, $284,187.48. So if you take the total, that's $893 between the two courts. So the Monticello City percentage of the total is 1/3. So 1/3 of all the cases that come through the Justice Court are Monticello City cases as far as revenue is concerned. 2025, these figures are from the January 1st to October 31st. So it doesn't include the last 2 months. That's why it's lower. San Juan County Justice Court so far, as of October 31st, the total revenue brought in was $480,378. Monticello Justice Court, $201,000. Again, your total percentage is about 1/3, 30%. So that's by revenue. If you go by cases, these are the actual cases. In 2024, I'm looking at line 6 here. 2024, the San Juan Justice Court had 202 cases that we call other misdemeanor. In other words, other than traffic violations. These include DUIs, domestic violence, assaults, etc. The San Juan County Justice Court had 202 cases. The Monticello Justice Court had 90 cases. So again, that's about 1/3, 31%. 2025 so far, as of, again, October 31st, the San Juan County Justice Court had 170 other misdemeanors, and so far we've had 79. Again, that percentage is about 1/3, 32%. And so line 10 is the traffic, basically the moving violations, the traffic violations. The San Juan County Justice Court had 2,906 cases in 2024. The Monticello City Justice Court had 1,550. That's about 35%. So Monticello City has about 1/3 of the cases in 2024. And as you can see in 2025 on line 12, again, that's up till October 31st. And the Monticello City is about 1/3, 32%. So these are figures that actually were turned into to the state. The thing I do not have that I could get for you is back up on lines 3 and 4. That's the total revenue. It's not the net revenue. But
My numbers include those for Monticello.
yeah, so I think it's fair to say that 1/3 of the cases that go through the Justice Court are basically attributed to Monticello City. And that's, any questions?
The question I have, and maybe attorney can tell us here, how do we include this in the packet so that it can be in the record after the fact? Is there a way that we can because whoever's looking online, they don't have these numbers. So I try to figure out, is there a suggestion, how do we include it to be in the packet?
Scan them in, I guess, is all you can do.
So this is where we're presenting this in work session. The contract and everything will still have to go
Okay,
through
so
commission
we have to
meeting.
make sure that
So
all
we can
the,
add
okay.
these to,
okay,
the
so when
commission
we are
meeting
doing the
agenda.
formal agreement, we should have all the records and,
And you can
It-
add this to your meeting minutes afterwards, and then it'll be included after that.
okay,
So-
anyway,
Yeah, the
Thank you.
point is, I think these are good, solid, hard figures to demonstrate that about 1/3 of the workload is from Monticello City, and that's all I'm trying to
yeah,
to
yeah,
show.
thank you.
You bet.
Does the commission have any questions on these numbers that we can answer before we talk contract?
I don't know. It kind of looks like both of them match pretty close. I mean,
They're-
like you're both
they're-
on the same
The same,
page.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The one number that's a little different is the judge's workload, but then again, he doesn't see all of the cases that go through the justice court. He just sees the ones that get activated into
Sure.
his courtroom.
And I guess my question is, I'm not sure how you come up with that. How do you determine?
So that was from the state office when they sent that to me. I think it's based on these many actually progressed in the courtroom, where most cases it seems like we settle before we have to go to the courtroom. That's the 15% that I pulled up, and that's the number that I was aware of. I wasn't aware of the 30% overall, which makes sense.
When you say settle, you mean they just pay the fine, the ticket, so it
Yeah,
never
pay the
even comes
ticket,
to
they don't go to court.
They don't have to go the rounds with these guys.
Gotcha.
That's my understanding from what the information I got from the state. I'm happy to release that information to you guys. It was just, as you can see, the way mine's structured, it was 6 pages of that. I just took out the important stuff and left
Right.
the generic, the excess data that they sent me. So I'm happy to share that if you guys would like.
I think
Just one point, even though a lot of these, they just pay it, that's still the workload on the secretary,
Mhm.
and on the court.
The clerks still have to process the money. The prosecuting attorney still has to review it. So I'm glad you brought these numbers to show this is the actual workload that happens. This is the judge workload is part of what I've brought forward as well. Any questions on that? Now, Attorney Mon, have you gotten the chance to go through the new contract
Well,
based on the changes?
I have not, and that's, my recommendation would be to go ahead and present it.
Okay.
And I have not had time to look at it.
Okay, well, we'll walk through it, and then the point of this meeting today is what I would like to get from it is what our kind of final key points of this agreement are going to be, so we can set them in place, review them through the attorneys, and then go bring it forward at the first or second meeting in January, so you guys can approve or we make changes accordingly. Ultimately, this will be an interlocal agreement because we are basically joining our court system with yours. We've included all of the whereases that if you want to read, you're more than welcome to. I will let the attorneys read those. But we'll skip down to number 1. It's about at the bottom of the first page. These are kind of some of the points of the agreement that we have to come to an agreement on. Essentially, the whereases state that we, the city, want to work with the county, and that the county is willing to work with us, and we want to work on this as kind of an interlocal agreement between the two. The first one just basically states the county is willing to provide court services to the city according to state code through the San Juan County Justice Court. The jurisdiction is hereby authorized from the city that all court cases will be filed and handled through the San Juan County Justice Court, including state misdemeanors, city ordinances, anything that the Monticello Court has handled, we're moving to the San Juan County Justice Court. At the top of the next page, the duration, we're recommending to set this on a 5-year rotation, similar to our sheriff's agreement. This would bring that agreement and the Justice Court agreement kind of back at the same time. It'll automatically renew. I did put in there a term of 180 days or 6 months notice of if there was going to be a change. That way, if Monticello decides to make a change, you guys have plenty of notice. If you need to make a change, we have plenty of notice to adjust the agreement or terminate the agreement at that time. Does that kind of time frame sound good? Does that sound good to administration and attorney? Okay.
Yes.
I have a question about the time frame. You know, the James Peters is waiting to move forward. I think he's in a different situation than we are. And so, in communication to me asking what we decided, I think they need to know because there's several other wheels that need to be turned.
Yes.
And they feel the pressure at times. So how do we work all this?
With that, as long I want to see where we end up today, and so we can report to him to let him know exactly what road we're on and what we're looking at, because that's why I want to talk the fine points of this agreement, because if it's something it's not going to work, now would be the day to find out and let him know. So that's kind of how I'm planning it, because the big thing is, you guys, this is your last meeting of the year. Monticello City has already had our last meeting. So everything's got to wait for that January meetings to kick off. And as long as we're kind of settled today, that will give him kind of an idea of, okay, yes, the agreement will be in process. We're going to have a little bit of limbo anyways, based on the nominating committee and the meetings. It sounds like we probably won't have a judge ready to go until later in the month of January, possibly February. It just kind of depends on how those things work out. So we're already the process is slowed down enough that if we sign the agreement in January, I don't think that would hurt anything with James. But he is coming. He was supposed to listen in today, but he said he might not. So he apologizes for that. So the duration is there. The next section talks about the fines. This is where I'm recommending the 35% be remitted to the city and 65% be retained by the county. No, this is net revenue. I'm talking about after we paid the state, after we pay for the operations, then the city would take 35%. So this is not anything that would cut into your guys' expenses. For example, the attorneys, it might cost more in attorney services to accommodate the Monticello Justice Court. And your judge costs will go up by that based on the 15 to 20% that they calculate the judge on. You guys would also take over that cost. So essentially take your cost now, add the city's costs in at the bottom of the sheet here, and that would give you kind of your total expense. I'm recommending we do any splitting of money after the expenses have happened, because otherwise it's not going to be worth it for you or for us to sit and try and calculate that.
So if I understand you, so you're saying a 35-65 split on the net revenue?
On the net revenue after all expenses for operation have come out. That way you're paying for your clerks, for prosecuting, defending, everything's done before we split that money. And the question I had for that, for kind of you as a commission and also administration, is how often we should remit that money. Monthly is going to be a bigger hassle than I think any of us want to deal with. Quarterly sounds a lot better to me, to know that money's going to come out quarterly and say, it's due at the end of the month after the quarter. That way we have that whole month to make sure the quarter's right. I don't know how you guys do your reconciling here, but that's the reason I'm behind on the city side, is we reconcile about 1 to 2 months behind the month as it's completed. Does quarterly sound well to you guys?
What do you think?
Well, I know Judge Hazelton does it monthly. He remits it monthly. I don't think it's a big deal whether if the city, if you think it's more work, and it would be less work to do it quarterly, as long as James Peters, the state is fine with remitting quarterly.
So you would still pay the state's fees, because those are all on a monthly fee. The reason why I'm recommending the quarterly for our arrangement is because I've noticed, at least on the city end, sometimes I don't get a bill for a defending attorney, or the prosecuting attorney's payment goes a little bit later. I know your guys' is going to work different, but I want to accommodate any of those late expenses so they're recorded in the quarter they happen versus the monthly. I don't know. Does that make
Yeah,
more sense
it
on
does.
your end? Because you
I,
guys
I do submit monthly, and then we can work on a reconciliation for quarterly.
for quarterly.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sorry, I gotta talk to everybody. And does the 35% sound fair to you as a county? Does that percentage
I think
work?
That's about where we land with both what you've come up with and they've come
Well,
up with.
I guess on my only, looking out for the best interest of the county.
Yeah.
The figures are 32, 30, 31, 32, 35, 32. So I don't know.
So you take
So maybe a
30,
30-70 split.
Split pennies and say a 1/3 instead of 65.
Let me find my paper again. Caden, you came up with a hard 35%, right?
That's where I kind of started the conversation, was the 35. Sorry. I have your agenda pulled up, so I have the same notes as you guys.
Is it if we did a 30-70?
That would, essentially, I'm looking at 2024 as the example there because that's the easiest. That essentially remit 30,000 to the city and 70,000 to the county. I would be open for a 30-70 split if that would work. Once again, this is after the expenses.
Sure.
Does that, that sounds about right.
Okay.
For operations, I would be game for that.
Okay. I'm better with that then.
Okay. So I will have our attorney make that adjustment, are you editing this live?
No,
Oh.
I was just highlighting, sorry.
No, you're good. If you are, I was like, cool.
Highlighting everybody's thoughts.
Okay,
So-
we'll look at doing that, and we will put in there that will be remitted quarterly to the city. That will also match up with our sheriff's contract payments. That's also why I was pushing for quarterly. All costs to the of the operation of the court will be with San Juan County. Basically, judges' salaries, staff, attorneys, physical facilities, all expenses will be moved over to you guys. But that's once again why we're calculating on the net, and not because if for some reason you need extra staff 1 month, I don't want to say, oh yeah, you owe me 35% of that. But you have to pay everybody first. The next section is prosecution. The city agrees to prosecute any cases filed by the city without additional cost. It's just based on the agreement that we have before us. Essentially, if we, the city, have someone who breaks an ordinance in the city and we choose to prosecute them for that, and it qualifies as a justice court case, it would come to the San Juan County Justice Court. That makes sense to everybody. The county is responsible for maintaining defendants. I can't say that first word, and I'm not even going to try. Indigent. Thank you. Basically, you have to provide counsel to those who need counsel in the courtroom. The last couple sections here talk about the administration of this. Essentially, we, the city, would like to be able to review the records of the court at any time, just to come in and say, hey, how's things going? Kind of like we do now. How many court cases have come through? What's kind of been happening with the revenues? We're just essentially putting it in writing that we would ask for that from time to time. We did not want to do anything crazy other than ask for a monthly report that's already being sent to the state, just kind of giving us that knowledge that we've already been receiving from the court. I figured since it is going to the state monthly, we'd send that report monthly to us. Basically, we also have the administration. This clears up who is in charge. This agreement is a interlocal agreement, so there's not actually an administrator, but that we are counterparts in this agreement. That is all of Section 9. It's identifying a lot of the key points that we had problems with the building inspector contract. This isn't a separate entity. We are letting our court merge into your court. And that is the agreement. There is one last thing that we agree that we will be governed by the laws of the state of Utah. That's kind of a given. I don't think any of us would go outside those laws, but we included it as part of the agreement to meet the requirements of an interlocal. Any questions from anybody? Do we feel this is a good agreement? Is this something the county is interested in doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a good agreement. I would obviously have to review it, fine tune it to just make sure, but
And
what you've said here, I don't have any problems with it.
okay. And like I said, I don't do lawyer speak very well, so I summarize contracts really well now.
Yeah.
But we'll make the change from the 35 to the 30%, and then we will
Quarterly.
kind of and add the quarterly payment. Other than that, any other changes, it sounds like will be legal changes that we make between the attorneys. We'd want them to make those anyways, and then bring it back to you guys for an approval. This will also need to go to an approval for Monticello City. I've been speaking on their behalf, but the council has to do the final approval of this. So what I would recommend, and I'm going to clear this with James, there's one other thing that we need to figure out with this agreement is the current cases that are flowing through Monticello Justice Court. Do they just automatically become transferred, or is there a cool off period where Monticello City still operates as we clear those cases out of our books? I'm going to find out from the court system how that would work, because essentially we're saying we're combining, but those cases may still need to remain with Monticello Justice Court until they close.
It'd be nice if we could have a cut and then a resume January 1.
Mhm.
I would think, just for keeping the year clear.
Mhm. I think it would be the easiest. I've just got to find out exactly how to go about
Sure.
that with Jim. That's one thing. Do you know anything on that front?
Boy, I'm just trying to think through that. It seems like that would be difficult. I mean, so any existing cases right now, probably there has been no revenue generated from the existing cases. There's been an expense paid as far as the filing fee.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the revenue would come after the case has been settled and the fines imposed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it really matters. I guess it's from a workload standpoint.
It's not going to.
It's not going to change anything. It's more of a revenue issue.
Right.
So I would think that you would keep yours, let them funnel through, because you've already started them. They would funnel through and stay with you, and then come January 1. Well,
Yeah,
if we could do whatever happened January 1, then that revenue would come with that combination with the
agreement.
with the agreement,
Mhm.
because then that way that's a clean break for you.
Well, and that's the other thing we've got to look at too, is we have Bell held in trust that we're going to have to look at moving over to the county and doing
Yeah,
those type
yeah.
of things that are currently on the books of the city.
That's true.
So
I think Commissioner Harvey has a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question to our county attorney, Mitch. In regards to our CJCC committee, are there any roadblocks to our access to discussing information for the numbers? I think we're looking at the and the misdemeanors and that kind of data. Is there anything we need to do there, or is it good?
One thing that we need to do is
Can we have here so we can be in the recording? Thank you.
One thing we do need to do is track the data. That's not really being done. And I really don't have an answer for it, other than because I think would have to be a combined effort from different agencies. But I think what I intend on doing is creating a master sheet starting January 1st. And every case that comes through is going to be on a spreadsheet, and it's gonna have the case, the type of cases, an assault, and it may not include the traffic violations, the speeding tickets. But as far as the other misdemeanors, track it by ethnicity, by the type of case. Is it an assault? Is it a DUI? Also track how, what the outcome was. I don't know that we need to track what the fines or anything else were. Maybe we do. But that's going to be some additional work, on my office. But I think as far as the stopgap, until we can get look at better ways to track this data, I think from the starting January 1st, that's something my office will do. Is I'll have each attorney and the secretary make sure that master list is done, and until we can get something better in place, that'll at least give us an idea of the tracking.
Good.
And I guess getting back to, I would say if we, just spitballing here, I'd say if we just made a hard date of January 1st, that means any traffic tickets that get paid before January 1st would go to the respective court, whether it's the San Juan County Justice Court or the Monticello City. After January 1st, then I think probably it would just go into the combined court and just dispersed. Does that work?
That would work. I want to check with James to make sure we got that
Yeah,
accurate
subject to James.
for how the state would want that handled, because that would also mean on the 1st, any bill held in trust, we would have to transfer.
Yeah. So we'll probably have to fine tune that, figure that out, but.
Which I have a meeting with him tomorrow, so I'll find out.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the process. And the thing that I like the most is that one of these days we're going to be used to be. But the relationship between Monticello and San Juan County are very important. And so anytime that we can cooperate and work in unity, it's a day that those commissioners that are watching us are smiling. So thank you so much.
Do that. Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
No, I was just going to just say what I will do is I will talk to Monticello mayor and council members and see if this is something they want to push further and do a special meeting for. If we end up doing a special meeting, we'll advertise it and try and get this
Okay.
approved before January.
Okay.
Currently, though, with the current schedule of things, I don't see them being
Yeah.
able to do that just because we canceled our last meeting due to the Christmas holiday. And so it would be the day before Christmas Eve. So I doubt they would want to come back for that meeting.
Thank you.
So I will keep you guys kind of up to date with the
I appreciate-
changes and then go from there.
Thank you so much and thank you.
Thanks, Caden.
Thank you.
What's next on the
Okay,
agenda?
let's flip.
So I have court at 10:45. Is there anything else on the agenda that you need me for?
No, the next one we were just gonna do was credit card.
You were in the agenda in the other meeting.
Then I guess if not, your counterpart will take care of it.
Well, if we can wake him
James
up
will
over
be
there.
it.
Okay. So I'll be back at the commission meeting part of it. Thank
Hey,
you.
thanks, Caden.
Thank you.
Okay, credit card use policy. This is tied in an ordinance, and so we wanted to first present it to you in a work session so that we could go through it. We have Vicky here in the clerk auditor's office who made these changes along with Lyman. So we'll just turn some time to Vicky. Vicky, have at it.
Thanks for having me. So first time at a
Presenting. huh?
presenting, so
That's good.
so there are some things that we would like to see changed in the credit card policy. It seemed outdated a little bit, and so I think you have in front of you. Yep. I've crossed out and made red those things that we are taking off because I put the logo at the top. I didn't think we needed San Juan written. Anyway, anything in blue is the wording that I am presenting. And I did put some green in there just because it was a thought and I didn't know how to present that thought. So, do you want me to read it? I don't know what to do. Oh, what would be best?
I have a request.
Commissioner Juan has a.
So I have a request, since this is the first time we're seeing it, if we can spend some time with it, and obviously it will come back on our next
Okay.
commission in January, I would assume, and then.
Okay.
But I don't know what everybody else would like
All
to
of
do.
the black
Yes.
we just copied and pasted from the website.
And it was in our packet, so,
Yeah.
you know, but if we have
It's
a
to-
question, I guess we can reach out to you before it's the final thing.
So yeah, the black writing is directly from the website and that's what I took.
And then the link, where you had that link, you will have those links attached?
My
you
question
thinking?
was to have that link. I think it would be a good idea.
I do.
I also think that we might need everybody link to San Juan County and an employee link to San Juan County, because the public doesn't need access to these things that we have that are internal. I mean, they can see them. I'm not saying we're going to like blindside them or anything. I'm just saying they are internal. Our employees need to be able to go find, and that's why I have the link on there, because that's for employees, not so much for the public.
Especially if somebody hacks our, system, they can use those names as reference, because I get in things, I don't know where they find names coming in my government accounts, and lots of those trainers catch them and dilute them, but
So
delete them. But anyway, so I think the less we have there, the people can use to trying to contact us. It can be something like, I get call about your credit card was used here and we need to talk to you. And so, it just kind of gives them more.
yeah. The other green area that I have is on page 3. Because there isn't a determination. It says that you use, if the verification of lost receipt, or what sometimes is called a missing receipt form, is used excessively, we need to determine what is excessively. If it's 3 strikes, you're out. And also we need to decide what is the action for using this excessively. In previous jobs I've had, it was 3 strikes. In one job, it was 3 strikes and they had to pay for their purchases. So, that was a little extreme. We were smaller. There was only 10, 12 employees with cards. And so we need to determine what is the action on our part so that I can do my job.
Commissioner has a comment.
Thank you. So a couple of questions, which I agree with. Maybe you should attach some language to what that might be, because you know how difficult it is on your end in your office to manage this. So maybe you're saying, hey, yeah, at this point we're done tolerating this. So maybe that's something you and the clerk need to discuss about what you feel is appropriate for that and bring that back. But the next question I have is on this purchase of food. This is one I did have, this purchase of food. So is that more like if you're, because when you travel, you have an allotment for food. So that, I'm wondering if that needs to be identified a little more clearly, what purchase of food means, because I think is that different than traveling and purchasing food?
Yep.
And purchasing of food is more like if you're going to have a banquets. So maybe we need to specify exactly what the purchase of food is.
Well, if
That's my
both,
only two things.
oh, sorry for
Oh,
interrupting.
no, you're fine.
If both of you go at once and you use just one credit card, you're out traveling, you went to a meeting over the past 2 weeks and you went to dinner together and used only one card, yes, you would need both names somewhere, whether it be on that receipt or even though, yes, you are traveling, but it also shows that both of you were together, both of you were traveling, and it was to feed both of you.
One of the things we've separated out on the travel, so you have your travel reimbursement form, which is separate than the credit card use. We've
Right.
encouraged employees to not use the county credit card for traveling expenses other than hotels. So if I go to the restaurant, that's not on my county card, it's on my personal. I submit the travel reimbursement request, and that's where the reimbursement comes in. That way, we don't get into having to check the credit card reconciliation form against the travel costs, how much they actually get, and then get into a discussion. Well, that dinner cost you $35 extra, and for travel we only pay this. You need to reimburse us back. It avoids that by having that separation on travel expenditures, and so that's kind of why in the policy we've listed it out what food purchases can be. If you're a department head and the Christmas party is a prime example. You're going to see a Blue Mountain meat charge on the county credit card. Well, we just want to know, okay, what was that expenditure to Blue Mountain Meats? Was it for an office party or training? A lot of departments will go purchase donuts at Clark's Market for training, at the landfill. Those expenditures are always just kind of stated on there. This is for training, so that we know that they're just not using the county credit card irresponsibly and just buying donuts.
So I agree with that. I just think the policy needs to say purchase of food. This, like some wording to the fact that this does not reflect the travel food reimbursement policy.
Yeah,
That just needs to be a
yeah.
clarification so we
I
know
think so,
exactly
too.
what that purchase of food is.
I have a question about that because, like, we use it for craft clubs. Sometimes we're decorating cookies or
Yeah.
cupcakes. We wouldn't have to list every kid's name.
No,
because we
just
just-
Just
list
your
what it's
activity.
Oh, just the activity. Okay, good. I'm like, that would be crazy.
And there was a couple of things on here that we just need your help. One of them, we know that we've got to bring in the purchasing policy. They want, from what we hear from employees, they want to increase that limit. So we can change that in here to, I believe it's $2,000, right?
I thought it was 20. I think it's 2,500.
2,500. Okay, so we can make that adjustment. Also on here, and I don't know how you feel, on the distribution of credit cards should be limited to employees who have a compelling business need. Credit cards should not be provided for employees and officers who have only an occasional or infrequent use. I know that that's been a question here recently, is like, how can you have that credit card? Well, I point to the policy. This is the policy that regulates that. I don't know if you want to take that out, that if deemed by the county commission they can have a credit card. I just know that it's opposite from the original anticipation. Well, the county administrator is the only one that has a credit card. And I'm like, no, every department needs to have one.
Because you run into the problem a little bit. Like, for example, Talia and Economic Development Visitor Services right now do not have a department head, but so you're limiting that. So it should be either one within the department, namely the department head. But if I don't know, that language needs to say something that it's distributed to maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it can't just be one in the location. I don't know. I probably
Just
need to
think
read
through
through that
it.
a little bit.
Just think through how you want that to.
That definitely needs to be a little bit different.
That's where that's stopped it in the past. Is like, well, if they're out of the office every day, why do they need a credit card? What's the compelling business need?
It so had to be necessary, now just having for convenience.
Yeah.
Because human nature, sometimes the store is almost closing, and you think, okay, I forgot my purse. Maybe I can use, I can reimburse. I don't know. I think if it's necessary, they don't have to be asking permission every day to use it. So I think if it's necessary for activities that do
yeah.
regular or whatever, I think.
When you think of the operations, you take like the sheriff's office.
Can you imagine we had 200 credit cards out there?
Oh,
Well,
Last job I was over 300,
How many we have out there right now?
less than 30.
But I
That's what I
believe
mean.
that you're correct. They are for necessary, but we need to allow those department heads to run their department and use discretion. And maybe we could put in there a clause if your department feels that there's an abuse, then when it's abused, it comes before the commission. We can decide
Yeah.
to revoke it. I'm thinking that should be the stopgap there. So, because I think it should be, you know what? We trust you that you know this, you know your budgets. This is your department. Run your department. But when you guys see that gross negligence in that department, then it comes before us. There's not one need for us to micromanage that.
and I think that's something we need to add in there as
So-
well, as we get some card holders that are always late in submitting
Yeah, a penalty.
Yeah.
their bills and the documentation for that, which kind of penalizes the whole account because we're waiting on 2 or 3 that are kind of continually, we're waiting on every month to get their reconciliation forms into them. And so I think if we add language in here that kind of mirrors that, if you start to abuse the county credit card and you're not timely,
That's her 18th, the day on the 18th.
That's
I
number
saw
7.
Numbers, yes, I did read that.
But last month worked.
okay,
Last month I paid the whole bill. That included any back stuff. That's the whole kit and caboodle. Paid it. This month's bill is a third of that.
okay, good.
And I had at least 2 people, besides giving their Novembers, they did August, September's, and October's. I know there's one other individual that I'm waiting on for previous months, but I think everybody's caught up other than that one.
See, and that's kind of where we need to tighten up the policies so that
Well, see, you've got that language in there. That's very number 7. I agree with that completely. And then you can just suspend it if it's not in there.
That's right.
Yeah, so that gives you the right to do that if they're not responsible.
And I haven't done anything. We need to pass this before I can do
Oh, yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So
And
could
so-
we make those changes and then we can see that back, this policy back to us?
We
What
can
wording
we can
changes?
talk about it. When this was done, the redlining. Both of my cohorts, the higher ups, were gone, and I'm here. I've got to get this out so that we can present it here. And so once I can sit down with them this week or later, then we can go over the language and make those changes that you asked about.
Thank you.
You're
We'll
welcome.
talk some more. We'll try to give time, maybe a little bit time for the
Thank you.
people that are here for the budget.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good work on that. Okay, we only have
You have the remaining at the time.
10 minutes, and we've got to transition to the new meeting as well.
Madam Chair, if I may ask on this,
On what?
may I ask?
Yeah.
Do you care? On this tentative budget, okay, I have a little heartburn that we only have 10 minutes left
I know.
for our budget. Are we gonna need to meet again on
We
this?
will.
Because
Oh,
we are
we are.
not
Appreciate
have
some
this
help.
hammered out.
We had time. Yeah, no, I thought maybe they had something pressing since they're here and they make the trip. So we are working on your budget. There's 3 people that have been working, trying to fix. Do you want to explain what we're trying to do?
Sure. We met together and looked at how you were being allocated for for plant maintenance, and it was based on some staff members and their salary allocations that went to the different locations. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to create another fund in our general ledger and make that facilities maintenance. And so they'll have their GL codes there. And then as services are provided, basically they'll be billed or charged to the department that uses them. So we're all in Fund 10 and you're in Fund 72. So they could be Fund 41. And so that way it'll help have clear reporting back and forth and as their own fund, and also it'll help in the grants. They can reimburse administration and maintenance for a portion of their grant receipts. And so I think that's how we're going to structure it. And then, so I think as far as I know right now, we're going to base it also on square footage maintained and divide it up based on that. And that'll be the first step.
And there's
some
a,
buildings are more obviously complicated than
Yeah.
other buildings.
Yeah,
or-
older and aged and need more help.
yeah.
Or more infrastructure.
And so we're just concentrating on a small target. The target was why your cost was going up and down, and we find out that. Now we have to figure out how we make the department, the maintenance department whole in a way so they can have more ways to, anyway, but we are very mindful of you guys. So we are,
I do have a few questions before.
Sure.
we close the meeting.
Are they for me or for the commission?
Well, I think it would be for every, both
Okay.
of you and the commission.
do you want to come to the microphone quickly?
Really?
You probably have
I
a couple of minutes.
know. One of the questions is how soon could we get the tentative numbers or solidified? Because I need to take that by statute back to my board for them to approve for fiduciary purposes. And so, anyway, I want to follow that. And also where it looked like with all the research that we did and with the mapping and everything of the square footage, there were buildings not being charged, big
Yes.
buildings, the
Yep.
big departments who had lots of buildings.
Yeah,
And we were absorbing from my point of view and from the numbers supporting that, we were
And that'll-
supplementing.
And that'll be changed.
And-
Every
Okay.
department that has property like the landfill, EMS,
Yeah.
and some of
Health
those didn't
department,
have
the Senior
anything.
centers.
Yes.
yeah.
And so you will be allocated based on the library buildings that you manage.
Okay. And my other question had to do with this intergovernmental charge that showed up
Mhm.
after budget approvals. And I believe Max said it had been discussed, but there was never a number that was given that I could find in any meeting, public meeting, of what that number was going to be. And then it showed up on my budget,
Mhm.
and then charges showed up for the first time about a month ago
Right.
of 69,000.
Yes.
Is that going to be something that we're going to continue?
Well,
Are
we're-
we just going to be charged for that, or is every department going to be charged for intergovernmental?
Every department that has physical
Okay.
property will be allocated.
Allocated?
Yep.
And because what we could see, we were the only department that were getting charged that intergovernmental charge. The landfill had a very small amount.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we were the only other department that were getting
Do you
charged.
remember that journal entry that Peter had entered, the breakdown very well? Do you remember that? Yeah.
Anyway,
I
we
think
are
there were
working
5
on that, and
Yep.
and I
Okay.
visit with you about what we're doing. and-
Okay.
and so
I
we-
just I feel
I
like
know,
I'm still
and I-
really in the
Yeah.
dark,
Yeah, I
and
would
it's
too,
hard
because
to.
I
Okay.
had to face the board every meeting, and so I did contacted the chairman of the board.
Okay. Is
Dr.
there
Brooks, and told him that we are gonna.
is there a time frame for?
We have to have this done by the 30th.
Set a date right now.
So we're under a time crunch for that.
So when?
Yeah, we can-
Okay.
You also won't have
We
any
mentioned
salaries and
So
any
we're gonna keep
FICA
meeting
and all those
more.
expenses added in. You'll just have your charge based on the square footage
Maybe next
and
third.
see if that is adequate.
Next
So
Tuesday.
they'll just be separate. All of their salaries will roll up to the
Yeah.
facility
Yeah.
maintenance department.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
There's going to be a work in progress.
And I understand that, and I know it's a
Yeah.
lot that we're
Cannot do
trying to
Friday.
Yeah, we're
tangle.
flipping everything
At the
upside
end of
down
the year.
and redoing it.
It
I
took
got
a
a
while
meeting.
trying to figure out what was happening.
Mhm.
And so-
Well, yeah, I mean, I've
the 19th.
been tracking this for a
can
number
do
of years,
Thursday.
and so I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying.
See if you're
Or
And
I
it took
can do
Anyway.
Wednesday
Michaela
tomorrow
months and
morning.
months to get that all into a graph
Yeah.
so that it
Yeah.
was very quick at a glance. See, okay,
And I
this is what
appreciate that
we're
because
talking
you give
about.
that to me and I share with everybody and we've been looking,
Yeah.
concentrating. We
So
did find-
my concern is being able to have time to go back to my board.
Yeah.
So
and
the
I-
board ratifies it, right? So the commission approves, the executives approve it, and then they're ratifying what they approve. And so
So in the past, we were told last year or the last couple of years that we needed to take it to our board
you do
first,
present it to the board.
and then we come back
and
to
then come in
you,
here.
the commissioners.
They do final approval, and then, because if you remember right, sometimes we're on that very last day, and then all of a sudden they give raises. And so you have, that's where you ratify it in your next library board meeting with that, with the changes that were adopted in that final budget.
But if they come back and they have not an agreement with something that the commissioners have added or changed, what I presented to my board, then they need a chance to
we
review
can-
that.
We had
and-
time till
and-
March. So we had time to March to adjust things.
That's just on the expenditures. If
Okay.
they have a,
Okay.
if they have a concern, if your board, your operating board has a concern with what the commission approved at their legislative hat,
Okay.
then, I mean, we have problems with what the state approves sometimes in those budgets, and that's why you have the commission, they wear the legislative hat.
Okay. Okay. I just mostly would like numbers, like,
Yes, 100%.
What-
We've gotta get you the numbers.
okay,
I have a question for us real quick.
okay.
Okay, she has a quick question.
So I'm just, Madam Chair, I'm requesting that we set our meeting to go over our budget,
Okay.
either in the next few days or that we can set a time right now so that gives her a time frame as well for us. Can we do
Okay, I
Thursday
mean-
afternoon?
Thursday afternoon works for me.
I'm good.
You can set the time. 4? I can do 4.
I'll do 4.
Thursday the 18th at 4? Yes.
We're trying to get it to a point where we can push it back out to the departments.
Yeah.
And then you can have.
Oh,
that
hold
review,
on.
But you
Okay.
won't have time.
I'm
to get
waiting.
the-
Yeah, well,
That would be hard to
Can
get
we
it.
do it?
Because you got Christmas the next week and then.
But if I could,
In Montezuma Creek?
even if I had numbers that I could
I can
email
do it
to
then,
them
yes.
and say,
I
hey,
can
this is a
juggle
heads
some
up, this
things,
is
so
where
I
we're
can do
at.
either way.
Yeah.
And
Thursday
then
is
maybe
my
I
best
could,
day, but I can
and then we
juggle
could
stuff.
ratify it in January even.
Yeah, because we wouldn't know.
But as long as I
raises
had
in
numbers
time.
I could show them,
Yeah.
yeah.
this is what I
Couple
presented to
hours.
you in October. This is where the commission is at.
Yeah,
8 to
And
10
this
on
is where
Thursday?
we're different.
correct.
I'll tell you, you
8
are
to 10
number
on
one.
Thursday.
I
Can
mean,
you do-
I've been calling the meeting and
8 to 10
I'm gonna
on
talk to
Thursday
Chandler
morning.
and Lyman
The
and we'll
18th.
keep
I have,
having that so we can finish that so we
Okay.
can work on the
Commissioner
regular.
Harvey.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have a board meeting at
Do we
9.
have a motion to adjourn?
EUTV.
We're still trying to
Right,
nail
and
down.
that's-
Well, we can have Lyman in here for,
Can
how
we
long will
talk
yours
that
be?
after?
Just maybe.
Okay, I like-
45 minutes.
Okay, so we can still meet.
Can we talk after the meeting and so we can
do have
adjourn?
to close, so we gotta make a motion to adjourn.
Do we
Motion
have a
to
motion
adjourn
to
the-
Second,
Work session.
second,
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. So now we can keep working on that. I'll make priority in my schedule anytime you guys choose to do it.
Well, yeah, Commissioner Harvey requested 8 a.m. on Thursday.
I'll be here. If he can be
Can
here
you-
at 8
8?
o'clock,
Yeah.
I'll be here at 8
Yeah.
o'clock.
we can
Okay.
keep it here.
Thursday at 8? Yep.
Thursday at 8. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll hit a restroom real fast.
Me too.
Thank you, Vicky.